Hello everyone, my name is Andrew and today we're going to continue working with PyAssimilator. In that video, we're going to show you how to update and delete your data. So we can already create our user with two patterns, unit of work and repository, right here. We can already use transactions with unit of works and we can already change our data with repositories. Of course, we can read our data with the footer and repository and with specifications. And I talked about that in the previous video, so watch them before you watch this one. In that video, once again, we're going to update our user. And if we want to change data in any kind of way, and I haven't talked about it yet, if we want to change data in any kind of way, if we want to delete data, update data, create some new data, change some records in our data storage, then we need unit of work. You're not going to use repository if you only want to change your data. You're going to use unit of work and repository together. Because once again, unit of work allows you to use transactions. And those are very, very, very important. If you have some other thing that watches your transactions or help you work with your transactions, then you can omit unit of work. But it's highly recommendable that you use unit of work in all of your functions. If you want just to read your user or if you want to just query your data, so not change anything, then you can use repository straight away. But otherwise, use unit of work and get your repository from unit of work as we do it right here. So UOV repository safe. And that will allow you to use transactions. Okay, if we want to change our user, we do the same. We open up our context manager. So we use with UOV, with our unit of work. And now we need to somehow get that user. So we need some kind of object to update it, right? We don't need to just pass in the data and create some object. We need to update it. So we have to query it from the database. UOV repository get and UOV repository specifications footer. So I want to find the user with the username Andre. I'm going to copy this, paste it here, and let's say username is Andre. So once again, what we're doing here is we're using our repository and get function to get one entity. And we're also using specifications to specify what we want to get from our data storage. And I'm going to name it user and then user. Let's say user.balance. So in our model user, right here in our base model user, we have a thing called balance, if you don't remember. And what we can do is just say balance plus equals 10. So we can increment our balance by 10. And then what we need to do is use the following thing, UOV repository update our user. So it's basically the same as in create. In create, what you do is you open up your transaction with unit of work, then you create your user somehow, you use UOV repository save from your user, and you use UOV commit. If we go to update user, it's going to be the same, UOV commit. That's it. That's how it works. The only problem that we have right now is, well, that problem is related to Assimilator. It may be kind of ugly to look at your code in this way. I'm going to show you some hacks on how to make your code prettier, so not write UOV repository specs filter, but that's going to be in the future. We don't have any other problems in our code at all. So what we're doing again, we use update user function and we accept unit of work, our unit of work pattern. Then we use with UOV to open our transaction. Then we get our user from the database using that specification that allows us to specify that we need our username to be Andre. Then we update our balance. We update our user using user update from repository, and we commit our changes. Now what I want to do is I want to read the user. So read user from repository, and I want to remind you that that function just reads the user. So just gets the user from the database, and let's put get here. Gets the user from the database, and let's say that our username is Andre, and it prints that user. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my user, read my user, update my user. So update user from create unit of work, and then read my user again. So basically, create user, read it, update it, read it again. And if we do the following, we can see that nothing changes except for the balance. So this line, the first line, is our user right after it was created. And we can see that balance is 0. But this line is our user right after it has been updated. And the balance is 10. So we increased our balance by 10. Of course, we can change some other fields, but I mean, yeah, you just do it as in any other programming, in any other library, in any other program. You just update your fields. That's it. One important thing is that sometimes your user is not updated straight away. So let's say that instead of using that update user to query the user right here, what you want to do is you want to accept that user as a model. So we use user right here. We accept it as an argument. So we can have some other function query our user using repositories or some other way, and then we get our user as an argument here. So we can delete that UOV repository get, and what we can see here is that user balance plus equals 10, update the user. What may be the problem here? The problem is that right after we update our balance, so we use update user, our user object may not be updated. So what does it mean is that if you want to make sure that your object is the fresh object, so the latest version in the database, you don't have any fields that are old because they were not updated yet. I mean updated yet in Python. What you can do is use UOV after commit, UOV repository refresh from user. So what refresh does is it basically updates your user and refreshes all the values from the database. We're not going to see it here because we use internal Python objects. There is nothing to update. But if you're using SQL Alchemy, or if you're using I don't know, Kafka, if you're using Redis, then there may be a problem with old fields. So some field was updated in the database, but field in the model is not updated yet in the Python object. So you want to use UOV repository refresh to refresh your object. But of course, that's an additional query to the database, so you need to be wary of that. Okay, but I'm going to return the code that we had before. So I'm going to delete the user, and my user is going to be UOV repository get from UOV repository specs filter, and username is Andre right here. Okay, now let's check that our code works. Okay, no, we have some kind of error. Refresh missing argument object. Oh yeah, refresh. I mean, we can just put the user here, and then no problems at all. So yeah, refresh, you just put the object in and it refreshes it from the database. Okay, now we can update our user, read our user, and create our user. I want to remind you that we have two users in our database right now, Andre and Andre2. Let's delete the second user, and we're going to do that with a function called delete user. Of course, we're going to accept UOV because we change our data, and it's basically the same. With UOV, we start a transaction, we can put UOV commit, and right before that UOV commit, what we do is UOV repository delete, and we need to get our object. So what we can do is, of course, UOV repository filter, or UOV repository get, and then UOV repository specs filter, and username is going to be Andre2, like that. So we get our user, and its username is Andre2. User to be deleted, or I'm just going to name it user, and then we use UOV repository delete to delete our user. So as you can see, most of the things are very, very, very straightforward. In order to update the user, we get the user, so get the model, use UOV repository update. In order to create a user, we use UOV repository save. In order to read the user, we use get or filter, and we use specifications for various purposes. It's pretty straightforward, but this code is not the best version that we can do. So in the following videos, I'm gonna show you how we can create the best version of that code and how we're gonna substitute different patterns and different data storages in the future. Because for now, that code works and it has the best patterns in Python, but well, it still has some problems that we can solve. But I'm just going to show you how to delete the user for now. So user UOV repository get, we delete the user with this. We get the user from the database, we delete it, we commit our thing. That's it. If I run my code, I expect no errors, and let's try to read the user, but let's change our, inside of read user, let's change username to Andre2. Now we should see an error as not found error. Our user was not found third time because we deleted it right before. I think that's pretty straightforward, so I'm going to return the code so that it works normally, and that's it. That's how it works. So you can create users, delete users, update users, and do basic CRUD with the best repositories in Python from PyAssimilator. In the next video, I'm going to show you what are the problems in that code. And if you really want to learn, then try to distinguish those problems yourself, because those are pretty visible. Once again, the code can be found in the description. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.